15-minute meeting. That's the
And we're on. And so I just want to open up the meeting. This is just a procedural for the Records Commission. And we go in just the attendance.
Ms. Drum, if you just go in under public,
Yes.
you should be able to get access to most of the stuff for
That was strange.
without needing a password.
Okay. So we'll go into number 2. So typically for this meeting, it's the board president, the treasurer, and the superintendent. And if we go into the discussion items, letter A, review public records policy 8310. Basically, the board is responsible for maintaining the public records of the district and to make these records available to the residents of Ohio for inspection and reproduction. The board will follow the procedures regarding making these public records available. And of course, these are any documents, device, or item, regardless of the form. And we've been dealing with video as of late. We also have our paper minutes for the meetings themselves. The public records shall be organized and maintained so they are readily available for inspection and or copying. Last year, regarding public records, and we'll go into this in the organizational meeting regarding the minutes, but that's maybe the only change we had regarding the actual policy and of the records was the taping of the minutes, which is just one portion of our minutes, of course, but that was, I think, only one thing as far as public records and the policy that we need any amendments to. If we go down to discussion item letter B, there's obviously a records disposal procedure. Anytime we have any type of record that is no longer beneficial to the district, so needed to be kept, there's a policy and dates and any type of item that we need to dispose of, we have to decide what type of item it is and then follow the record of disposal retention time frame. I know being the treasurer in our office, a lot of things are kept 4 to 5 years, if not forever. Then you have certain items, it depends on if they're student related, staff related, and they all have their certain time frame as to when we can dispose of them. And then if you go into even letter C, approval. So once we have an item that we need to dispose of, what the item is, but then we have to get an approval through the records. The Records Commission has to approve what we're disposing. And then once that's approved, then we can actually dispose of it. So there is a procedure. Last year, it seems to be that there were some items that were disposed of, but I have not been reported that the items were disposed of this year. So I don't have any information for the 2021 year that we're disposing of any records. Is that correct?
Right. We don't have any records.
And we may not do this every year. It depends on the volume of what we're deciding to keep.
Right.
I know in the past, if you want to keep it every year, then we can, there's just a process as to how old we want to keep things. I mean, if you only keep things 4 years, if you end up keeping them longer, then there won't, as long as we have kept in the time frame, then to give us enough storage area in the district.
we also have to reach out to the Historical Society.
Right.
Because we had
For the approval.
Yeah, we hadn't been doing that in the past. And then last year we caught it. Mr. Stefanik and I had a meeting about that. So yeah, that's important to know.
And that's what I was going to say, to go back to what you said, after the Records Commission approves it here, you said.
Here, and then the Historical Society,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, then you have to go to the Historical Commission and the auditor of the state. And then once they approve your application, then the records can actually be disposed of.
Yeah, we've been skipping that step. So we corrected that last year.
Okay, and then letter C, which discussion of approval of records disposal, we don't have any this year that I'm understanding that we've been reporting, so that item, I guess, would be blank. We're gonna take it off the agenda, but personally, I don't have anything to add regarding the records disposal. I know that as long as we follow the retention schedule, each department, you know, has their own responsibilities. Ultimately, it's going to be reported through the treasurer's office what we're disposing, but I'm sure maybe at some point I'll contact the different buildings and staff just to initiate the process to make sure that we're staying on track with the retention process, so.
Any questions?
There's no questions on the procedure. And,
No, you close this part.
okay,
You said we're adjourning this part.
all right, I'm adjourning the meeting.
Well,
We have nothing else to discuss.
yeah, I do have one question. Isn't it in the records, there's the district has to acknowledge that they sign off, is it the records custodian?
Yes.
They read the policy, they understand it.
Yes, so there's also a list that would be provided to my office that says what they want to get rid of and how long have we had it. Fill out the sheet and it comes over. Then we get the approval to get rid of the items, but they should know in our policy here what the procedure is. I know we count on our staff to know all of our policies, but we have so many of them. I think that it's probably helpful for me to, you know, push out some communication, just reminding them of the procedures to those selected few that are going to be dealing with the documents. As to, you know, timeframes,
But
so
what
forth.
I think I'm remembering, as a board member, we have the obligation of each board member to be familiar with the records disposal, the records commission process, unless the treasurer takes that responsibility on our behalf, signs off that they've taken the course, and then that one individual does the execution. And I thought that's what we were doing in the past with Dave.
Next meeting.
Okay,
It's one of the agenda items in the organization meeting.
okay,
Yeah, Melanie's
Yeah.
taking the classes and then.
okay.
And last year I took the class with Dave. And so when Melanie finds out when that class is this year, I'll take it as well. So then you have double coverage.
It's listed in the consent agenda, so it was easy to miss. If you read that really quickly, it was kind of, yeah, it's easy to
But
miss.
That I would be taking the training.
Well, you're
But as
taking
far
it
as-
sort of on our behalf, because I remember through some of my training that the board members have that legal responsibility.
Yeah, all the public
Understand that.
records are.
But we
pretty
can
much on the
pass the
treasurer.
baton to the treasurer if the treasurer so agrees and takes that training for us and speaks for us. So. Okay,
Yes, that is coming up.
okay, great.
All right, and
Okay.
probably should I pause this meeting then? On here? Because we don't start for 5 minutes.
We're live yet?
Yep. Start.
Okay, I'm convening the January 3rd, 2022 organizational meeting for the Tipp City School Board. And our first business, 1A, is the oath of office for our new board members. Who's administering that oath? Is it Mrs. Fox?
Yes. I'll just stand back here if that's okay. Each other, right?
Okay.
Do Amber first. Okay. Do you, Amber Drum, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as members of the Board of Education of the Tipp City Exempted Village School District, Miami County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Do you, Richard Main Senior, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as members of the Board of Education of the Tipp City Exempted Village School District, Miami County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Number 1B, President Pro Tempore. And so we'll move to 1C, call Rice for the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And item 1D, attendance, Mrs. Fox.
Teresa Dunaway,
Here?
Ann Zakor,
Here.
Richard Maines,
Here.
Simon Patry,
Here.
and Amber Drum.
Here.
Here and accounted for, we have a forum.
Okay, 1E, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, a first from Mrs. Drum, second from Mrs. Dunaway. Any discussion? No? Okay, you call for the vote, please.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes. Okay, item 2A.
Motion carries.
Oh, motion carries. Item 2A, election of the 2022 president for the Board of Education, and we're looking for a nomination.
I nominate Simon Patrick.
I second.
Okay, any other?
There's a motion in a second, so you have to vote.
Okay, is there a discussion on this?
There's a motion in a second, so now there's discussion, yes.
Any discussion?
Oh, you were asking. Sorry. I thought you said, are we discussing? There's always a discussion. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, call for the vote, please.
So I'm filling in the motion to approval to elect Simon Patry as the Board of Education President.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
The 2022.
Your motion, sorry, Maines and Drum. So Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
No.
Patry,
Yes.
Zakor.
No. Okay, motion carries. And Mr. Patry, you can take over for item 2B.
Item 2B, election of 2022 Vice President of the Board of Education. Is there a motion and nomination?
I nominate Rick Maines.
I'll second. Any discussion? Having no discussion, we'll call for the vote.
Fine.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Dunaway,
No,
Patry,
Yes.
and Zakor.
Abstain.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next item is 2C, board meeting frequency and date and time. There is an attachment of proposed dates for board meetings. Is there a motion, a second?
I motion.
second,
All right, is there any discussion?
Just have a minute to look these over. Is the tri-agency meeting still on for January 31st? You know, Mr. Stone.
Last I heard, yeah.
okay. They very rarely cancel those, and those are usually pretty locked in. Once in a great while, they'll cancel or reschedule, but hardly ever, and that was just because of COVID.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, it was only because of COVID.
Yeah.
Those meetings are pretty solid, they very rarely change.
And it says that, yeah, the next one is going to be hosted by the city.
Yeah,
Any discussion, anyone else? I would move to modify this proposed date to remove the following work sessions. I would remove the February 8th work session, the April 12th work session, the June 14th work session, the August 19th work session.
is there a reason?
That's my motion. I guess we can discuss if there's a second.
Just to modify that, August 9th, Mr. Patry, sorry,
Yeah.
you said 19th, just making sure the dates are right.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, since I made the motion, yeah, I just think that our work sessions are lack productivity, and I think that's a sign that we're having too many of them. I think we'll be more productive. I feel that the time you assign goes up as much time as you give it. And so if we need to add something, I think for a work session, because there's a specific item we need to tackle, we can always add it to the calendar. I think having it on there is just ends up being filled with things that don't matter when we lose sight of what's important.
Can you say those dates again? What was it? February 8th, April 12th,
June and August,
June
14th
14th,
and August.
and August 9th.
and August 9th. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think if you leave them on, at least they're on there and they're easier to cancel, but trying to get 9 people's schedules together once you get into the year, it's much harder. That's just my 2 cents.
I concur. I think that they can be canceled.
Oh, easily, yeah.
24-hour.
Right. So I think too, it
Couple
makes
days to
better
get
sense
everybody
because
going.
you never know what's going to really break in the school year, what's going to happen.
That's fair.
And, you know. What is the process to cancel it?
Email to the press.
Cancellation notice.
Well, I mean,
A
what's,
day or two.
Yeah,
what,
48
what
hours.
makes the determination? Does there have to be a majority vote on that to cancel?
I think we'd have to vote to cancel it at the board meeting preceding that work session.
Okay. That makes sense. So, yeah, that's why, that's the really basic, because with COVID and anything else that could happen, and
One thing we've been kicking the can down the road is all of these salary schedules, and this is will be your first year doing it, Melanie. And in the past, we've always kind of, with other things that crop up, we kind of wait to the last minute. And then, oh yeah, last year we were gonna really look at the salaries because there are quite a few that are, for lack of a more professional way to say it, just kind of out of line. And so I prefer leaving it on there, and if we need to cancel it, but like I said, getting 9 people's schedules together is always very difficult. So, especially with summer vacation, kids, we have a board member now with children, more kids schedules for sporting schedules and stuff like that. So anyway.
I would only add that back when I was on the board before, we very seldom had a special meeting. We had it once a month, and if there was something special that came up, we added the extra meeting, but we didn't have all these meetings. And I don't know if board members get paid for these meetings or not, but if we can save money by taking these meetings off or doing a little bit more time before our regular meetings, which, I think I've talked with you about that too, but I have no qualms about deleting those meetings and rescheduling if we need to.
I know
That's my
some
opinion.
districts do have too, but it depends on the topic of the day.
Right.
My thing is facilities, and I don't know what,
and we are going to be.
or, and this is just an example, preventing a 4-hour meeting.
Exactly.
Do we want to do that second one, they're in earlier and then say that the next one's not going to be 30 items, it might be 20 items.
Well, the other thing
So
too,
it's different ways of looking at it.
right, this year we have our 3 newly created positions, which is HR, curriculum, and exceptional children. So, those positions started in the summer. So it takes about 6 to 9 months to kind of get the lay of the land. And then we do our curriculum maps. The board gets the curriculum maps in April, they're approved in May. I'm sure this year it's going to be a little more, it's not something you can just put in one meeting, because we don't know with newly created positions, they're going back, 5, 7, 10 years of, there was one position wearing too many hats. So, board members don't speak to those positions, those people that all funnels up through you. I don't know what kind of extra time it's going to require for us, what they're going to ask of the district, the board to approve. Hopefully it's a lot, because we're here to serve staff and students. So I'm all about having the extra meeting to give them the time they deserve, because every single day they're in the trenches, working for the staff, working for the students, trying to get our district to the next level. So to me, that's time well spent.
And there have been requests to have presentations at work sessions rather than bunched into a meeting with a lot of agenda items.
It's too long.
From those new departments.
Yeah,
So
and they deserve that time. I mean, those are very key positions.
now alluding to something that Mr. Main said, that if it pleases the board, I did work for a district, although and albeit in another state, but they did have a procedure where the work session and the regular meeting occurred in the same day.
No,
And so whatever work schedule, it was an afternoon and then an evening. So they went like 2 to 4, and that gave the work session a defined slot, and they went for dinner, and then they came back for the nighttime meeting.
but people have jobs.
Right, right.
You're asking
Yeah.
people to take off work where they make a living to pay their bills, and then, it just
I was just
doesn't.
thinking, is there a way to be like more strategic about it? So like in a normal curriculum for like the school year, if you're looking at when things really happen, like could we just be more strategic about it? So like we know before school starts in August that there's probably going to be more stuff that happens. You know what I mean? Like so having an extra work session in August would be good. But like we may not need one in February.
Right, then you just cancel it.
Do you know what I mean?
It's easy to
Okay.
cancel.
Okay,
Because
because I was just thinking if you're
Right.
thinking ahead of time, then
who knows?
you don't
And
have
with-
to.
And with COVID, you don't know what's going to crop up. You just don't.
True.
I mean, the CDC, my account, all that could change. Boom, boom. I mean,
Yeah, and
yes, we would love a crystal ball.
Right?
Sadly, we don't
Wouldn't that be
have
so
one.
nice?
Right.
And I think Mrs. Fox hit on a really great point, that this is going to be the year that we're going to keep hone in, hopefully more on facilities.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is not a light topic.
Right.
And so, and things will evolve just through information flow of this or that, depending on when we get it. And that's why I feel that it's really business smart to keep these dates. that
Yeah,
we're all
facilities will
agreed.
be a lot of discussion, not necessarily all action, but
A lot of discussion,
It's
a
not
lot
gonna
of
just
of
be
questioning, a lot of
1,
back
2
and
minutes.
forth
I mean,
maybe. And then also, oh shoot, there was another thing that I thought was really good. Sorry, forgot it.
Well, the thing with facilities too is it's twofold. It's financial and it's emotional. So those meetings, you're dealing with a lot. You're looking at finances and what the community needs are. It takes time.
Oh, I know what it was. I don't like putting them back to back. I think it's really unfair to the staff when they start a 7 a.m. day and then we're here till 10, 11. That's just exhausting.
And then Rick and Amber, did you have anything else to add since you guys didn't get as much time?
No, I just had questions about like what the tri-agency meeting is, but other than that, my questions are answered.
Well, I only have one other thing is why can't those reports happen during our regular meetings?
Well, just based on the last year.
We'd be here till 1 a.m.
The meetings are long, and if somebody would need 45 minutes to an hour to present all that information, it just makes that meeting that much longer. And so for people's attention spans and just sheer energy and motivation, if you have the discussion at a work session, then if there's action to be had, then you act on that item in a board meeting, and it's just a lot more efficient to move it forward because you've already had the background information and background discussion at the work session.
Why do our meetings last so long? I mean, I know I've watched on YouTube on occasion where, some of the meetings go 3 or 4 hours and sometimes they're cut off, they're behind closed doors, which, takes up a lot of time too, but can't we be more efficient in our meetings?
I think every group can look in the mirror and ask that question.
We're all for 1 hour board
Well,
meetings.
I'm not even sure it's an efficiency issue as much as it's a philosophical issue. And I think there needs to be a more cohesive understanding of philosophy, of what the board's role is. And I think if we can come to terms on that, other things will just kind of fall in place.
I know one thing, we used to have a representative from each school given time, a 5-minute slot to give a report on their particular boards. And we don't do that anymore. Why not?
And isn't that the thing that we're gonna do, our committees with the buildings, the BLTs and the DLTs, don't they send a principal in for a 5-minute?
Yeah, they'll report on
Update.
their update on their plans.
So
Yeah,
we'll
they'll-
implement that.
Rick, how did I answer Mr. Main's question?
Go ahead,
Rick? I think also last in March of 2020, school shut down.
Correct.
So there wasn't really a lot, to warrant that process.
Mhm.
And we were in all such an unknown state. And then in 2021, I guess, that you could certainly,
Bring it back.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And speaking of those reports, I've been in districts where those have happened in a work session. And I've also been in districts where they split the district in half and one set of principals present at, say, the February meeting, and the next set of principals come in and present at the March meeting, at the regular meeting. So you could look at that as an agenda item under reports in a regular meeting, or you could look at that as a work session, just a standalone, and they would report out there.
Amber, did you have anything else you want to ask?
I'm good, thank you.
I can answer the tri-agency.
Yes, that would be awesome.
The tri-agency is Monroe Township, City of Tipp,
Okay.
and the Tipp City Schools.
Okay.
And Tipp Community Services, you forgot.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it, but I didn't realize what the name of it was
Yeah.
when we chatted. So, okay, thank you
So,
for explaining that. to me.
Yeah, so what happens is representatives are there, and each group decides what update needs to happen in that quarter of the year. But I think at the last meeting, we went back to 2 meetings a year, right? Instead of 4. So I think we have one coming up and then the next one is in the fall.
Yeah,
So I
we
think
did
it's just
change it.
twice a year instead of 4 times a year. Because they said that it was tough to sometimes give an update just 2 months out from when you just gave the last update.
Right, that
And so
makes
they said, let's do it 6 months instead of 2.5.
So I think that if you have more meetings, you'll find a way to fill them with things that don't matter. But I do like the idea of having them reserved and then canceled if we don't need them.
Well, there's a motion and a second, so we have to vote. So
I'm discussing my point of view. I understand that. And so I think the discussion was helpful for me. All right, is there any more discussion?
So are you saying that you think that the cancellation would be better rather than
Yes.
voting on this motion?
I think that makes sense to me,
Okay.
but we still have to, that's my feeling is that it makes sense to leave them on based on, and then reevaluate the meeting beforehand. Is there any further discussion on my motion to eliminate the meetings?
Well, one other final thing I want to say is that I'm really for transparency. And I think that having these meetings and, even if they are somewhat lengthy, you get paid the same amount, whether you're here 10 minutes or 10 hours. And I think that ties into that transparency and being, in front of your public and being able to dialogue. I think it's really a good thing.
Call the vote.
I'm sorry though, but what are we voting on?
We're voting on the
I did
motion to-
revise the motion from the original. Is that correct, Simon?
So right now, we are voting on presently the motion to eliminate the meetings.
4 meetings.
The 4 meetings, the ones that, my motion that was seconded by Mr. Maines, which was to eliminate February 8th, 12th, June 14th, and August 9th.
Okay, I'm actually,
And then,
for now, putting those in here on the motion that was in the system. For now.
Yeah, because we had a motion and a second, so we have to vote on that. You can't change it without voting.
Do we not have, I'm checking my memory now, do we not have 2 motions?
we have
The original motion was to accept the schedule as it was, and
Yes.
then that got a second, and then as part of the discussion, Mr. Patrick.
So I
made the
have 2
second
motions.
motion.
I'm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
voting them.
So if you vote on the second motion about whether to eliminate, then you can decide whether or not you need the first
To go
motion
back to the
to
original.
go back to the original.
correct.
So we are voting currently.
On Simon and Rick's, and then you can go back to the original if that fails.
So a vote yes would be to eliminate those 4 meetings.
Correct.
And a
Correct.
vote no would be
To keep the work sessions on.
Yeah, this one is removed February 8th, April 12th, June 14th, and August 9th, 2020. That's those motions.
Yep, that's right.
And so then we have Simon Patry is motioning, and the second was Mr. Maines,
Mhm.
correct? Okay. We'll vote on this one. We have Patry,
No,
Maines.
No.
This is adding the dates. I want to make sure we're on the right thing. Okay, Dunaway,
It should be drum, alphabetical, drum, Dunaway, Zakor, right?
Drum. Yeah, I'm sorry. Drum,
No.
Dunaway,
No,
and Zakor.
No.
motion fails. We're back to the original motion to approve the proposed dates. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion being heard. I call for the vote.
Zakor,
you're voting on the original schedule as is with all the work sessions.
yes.
I read your mind.
Sorry.
I read your mind.
Then Dunaway.
Yes.
A second. We have Drum
Yes.
and Maines
Yes.
and Patry.
Yes. So next item is item 2D. To recommend that action to approve the following committee assignments. The assignments are not assigned. The committees are. And so is there a motion?
What
Sorry, I'm getting to it.
could be motioning for?
We're just picking committees.
It's to do the committees.
But are we gonna do it by each, like, for
We go
example?
line by
start-
line,
Yeah,
people fill
start
in.
with strategic plan.
Yep. On that, yep.
Correct.
Okay. That's-
I'm going to open it. Need a motion to open up the discussion. I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, so it's the president's privilege to appoint these committees. Traditionally, we discussed it among the members. And so there are certain people that I'd like to see on certain committees. And so I guess the first strategic plan, I think that should be me. Is there anybody else that would like to join me on that?
I will join.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Well, I would just like to make a statement, probably needs to go out right now. That I understand one of the board powers as president is to designate these positions. It is in the policy. And it defies the comment that no individual acts alone, this board only acts as a board. It's one of many individual board powers as the president. I think there's about 8 of them if you go through the policy. However, so I respect that. And Mr. Patrick's correct. I do respect that. However, we've also had discussions where we follow tradition and custom. And it has been the tradition and custom of this board to have input from all members so that all members can be considered sort of equal and important and part of the process. And I know just the past 2 years, Mrs. Dunaway can speak prior to that, the past 2 years, the president did not appoint the committee members. It was a consensus among the board. I don't know what happened prior to that.
Correct, I could have, but I just feel like people are gonna sign up for what they have a passion for. And the 4 years before I became president, no president ever chose the committees. Each person just kind of came in with what they're passionate about and where they think they could, lend the best hand, so to speak. So that's how we've always done it. It is listed as one of the presidential powers. I've just never seen anybody use it before. This would, in the 6 years I've been here, this would be the first.
Well, I don't think I said I'm going to appoint everybody. I said I have some ideas of who I'd like to have in certain areas and then open it up for discussion as we go through it. I'm not going to unilaterally decide this. I'm just going to make some suggestions and see if somebody's interested in certain positions. Like, for example, I think that Rick was here the last time we passed the facilities levy. And so I think that it would make sense to have him be on that. And I'd like to continue that. And so for that one, you can only have 2. And so I want to continue what I've been doing there the last 2 years and see what Mr. Maines, if he's interested in doing it, I would have him on there as well. And so that's kind of what I'm alluding to. After that, there's nothing I feel very, very passionate about other than maybe I think it makes sense to ask Mr. Maines if he has any interest to be part of the audit committee. And beyond that, I'm really open to suggestions, but I was just letting everybody know how the committee assignments work and how traditionally we've done it. So I said the president appoints them, but traditionally we've done it through feedback. So I appreciate the comments. And so on a strategic plan, right now we got myself and Rick on facilities. I've just kind of mentioned that. Mr. Maines, do you have any interest in joining me on that?
I would love that.
I think your institutional knowledge from last time we had this would be helpful.
Rick, how many years ago were you on the board? Because I've heard you mention that a few times now. How many years ago was it that you were on the
Oh,
board?
golly, that was back from 91 to 95.
Okay, so
I don't have my
05,
calculator, so-
15, so 25 years ago.
Maybe we should know this.
Okay.
Point of order, I just want to get us back on track. We can
Well,
have,
he's referenced that several times.
Yeah.
So I just, a lot's changed since then, and I was
Yeah.
just curious because you brought that up. Obviously, you're proud of that, and you're running again. So I just, for my own knowledge, I just wanted to know how many years ago that was.
Yeah, long time.
A lot's changed in the levies. too.
legislative liaison, anybody have an interest in that? Right now, there's no one filling it.
So facilities is
Simon and Rick.
Simon and Rick, okay.
Anyone want to take legislative liaison?
What do we ever do with legislative liaison, quite honestly?
You get a lot of emails from OSBA, and they're very detailed because I've received them because I was president and it was kind of blank. And it takes hours to read that material.
We all get that.
We all get those.
Yeah.
I think that it makes sense to have it, but
It's a lot.
I think we all kind of keep an eye on it.
It's a lot of reading.
To me, what would make sense here is, I think one of the work sessions we should have, which kind of dovetails this committee, is the financing and the legislation that's just changed related to school financing. But I think that's more of a entire board meeting and education session versus a liaison. So, I mean, if nobody wants to do it, I understand. I think that we all get those and we just kind of keep an eye on it. Board of Education policies, I would remove myself from that. And I know you served on it before. Do you want to continue doing that?
Sure, I like it.
Anybody else have an interest in the Board of Education policies? I think it's good to have two people on that because there's a lot to dissect.
Yes, there can be.
So if I don't get any volunteers, I'm gonna just ask people. Amber, would you like to do Board of Education policies?
Yes, it'll probably be good for me to learn.
Plus, you're here 4 years.
Yeah.
So then if these.
It's a great idea.
There's
That
always
is a great
one,
idea.
always one person that's been
Yes.
in the loop the whole time.
Yes,
That's the perfect.
perfect idea.
Student Achievement Liaison, Teresa, you've been doing that historically. You want to continue doing that?
Sure, unless somebody else wants to. We've gotten some emails already. I can forward them. If somebody needs them.
We can have two.
I will do it with you if you're
Yeah, sure.
cool with that.
I'll send you the emails.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Melanie, just to make a note to myself, that person they specifically want the treasurer to send them the name, so I will send you that email right now. You're supposed to give them that name by like this Friday. Okay,
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah,
For that particular committee or?
yeah,
all
for
of
that
them?
committee. Mhm.
Student Achievement
Yes,
Liaison.
yep.
They're gonna be two people.
Yeah, so I'll send it to you right now.
Personnel and contract negotiations. Teresa, I think I gotta take over that as president.
Sure, I don't care. There's nothing to, I mean, we're.
There's nothing going on this year anyway,
Right,
but
we're good.
finance and audit.
Rick.
Rick, do you have an interest?
I'd be willing to do that.
And then, Ann, you were on it before. You want to continue that?
Oh, I wasn't on that, Simon. I don't know why my name.
Yeah, it was me. It says Ann, but it was me.
Okay.
And I'm,
Well, Teresa, I guess you have an interest in continuing that?
No, I've done it like 2 or 3 years now.
do we have to have two? I mean.
We don't have to.
Accountant.
If just one person's absent.
Well, I think the audit committee requires that I participate in that too. I think that's one of the standing committees that one of the very only ones I see in the policies. So I'll add myself to that as well.
Okay, so that's Rick and Simon.
Communications. Teresa, and then you guys did that last year. Want to continue doing it?
I'm good with that.
Sure.
Business Advisory Council.
I'm interested in that one.
All right, Amber. Anyone else?
No.
Athletic Council. Anybody have an interest in that?
Can I look it up really quick?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No
It's
problem.
quarterly meetings are usually like at 6 o'clock. They last like an hour and a half.
Okay,
It's like, fall, spring, summer
yeah,
kind of thing.
for the different
Yeah,
sports.
I'll stay on it,
divisions.
Simon.
Okay,
Sounds like Amber might want to do it as well.
Yeah, I'll do it too.
all right, so athletic council will be Amber and Teresa. We've got Russ Gilmore with the Miami Valley Career Technology Center. We know if he's still willing to serve.
He's retired. Didn't he
Is he
send his
retired?
resignation? I think so. He
So
sent in his resignation. but it's-
No, I didn't read that.
No, I thought somebody asked if he was still on and they said he was supposed to be on through New Year's Eve of next year.
Yeah, his contract is December 2022. December, okay, we'll circle back to that, but
well, Mark, if you can let us know when you know. and
yeah,
then
I didn't receive a resignation letter, but unless he.
I'm sorry, I was going to start a rumor.
Tipp City Economic Development,
I just did, didn't
anybody have any interest in Tipp City Economic Development? All right, I guess I'll do that. Tipp Monroe Community Services,
I love that organization, but they always meet on Thursdays
I just looked at that.
and I can never, ever be a Thursday meeting. It's the worst day for me. Oh, he did resign?
Yes.
And how did I miss that?
Mr. Patrick, do you want me to
Wow.
clarify this on the
please.
Miami Valley project?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have an email that we
Yeah,
received
what is the date?
on December 14th.
Okay.
There were 3 attachments from Mr. Gilmore. And the third attachment is dated December 1st, 2021. From Mr. Gilmore. My term expires December 2022. However, in the coming year, I'll be traveling extensively, et cetera, et cetera. Since I'm not able to serve as anticipated, I have elected to resign my position effective December 31st, 2021. Thank you again for your confidence in me. I hope my meeting reports and communications have been enlightening and helpful. Sincerely, Mr. Gilmore. So,
That's a huge loss.
So we need to, yeah,
Well, I guess I'd say thank you to Mr. Gilmore for all the work you put in
his notes were impeccable.
over the years. Incredible work.
so
And
how
then
do we handle
We can
this?
use the work session, the January work session to interview. Liz will have to put an ad in the paper. And then,
I don't know
You'll
if
have
we,
to tell them before their organizational meeting, which is by January 15th.
right,
They need that
CTC will need to
appointment
have it by January, they have to have theirs by January 15th.
by.
okay. Well, you're the president now, Simon, so you let us know what we need to do.
well, let me think a second here.
Can I ask, how do you typically recruit for that? Do you just send it out to the community?
We put an ad in the paper. Last time we had 3 people apply. They came in at the end, which I thought was kind of rude, but they came in like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night and interviewed with us after our 3-hour board meeting. It was long and they each got like 30 minutes. So I felt really bad for them.
That's very
Yeah, and they sat through our whole meeting and then we interviewed them. And I thought it was horrendous. Personally, I thought it was unprofessional and rude, but
You
It is what it is.
you have a work session that you just approved on the 11th.
that was my
So-
suggestion.
So if you
Do it on the
make the interviews part of that work session or a main item in that work session, then you can notify the
For
CTC
Saturday.
before the 15th.
Yeah, way before.
That makes
You need
sense.
to make sure they're when they're meeting.
When they're meeting, go
Because
check
it could,
with
you don't know when they're meeting.
Somebody needs to reach out to Dr. Weldy to make sure,
I can-
I'm sure he already knows, but
Yeah, I'll check with them and see.
All right, so
because they might have somebody for us too. He might know someone that's interested and he could refer them our way.
just to summarize here, my understanding of what's gonna happen then. Mark, you guys are gonna take care of advertising this and then getting us a short list or some names, and then are we gonna interview them then on the 11th? Okay.
Well before 9.
Starts at 5.
We'll do it at the
Would you
front.
be
We'll
able
do
to
it at the front
interview at
end.
9 o'clock at night?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
rude.
we'll do it at the front
I
end
thought
of
it
the
was
meeting rather than the back end of the meeting. Again, it's your meeting. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
Do it at the front of everything.
That makes sense to me, if it makes sense to the rest of the board.
With the anticipation of making a decision on the 11th?
We made a decision that night because Miami Valley Career Center's meetings is January 15th.
Yeah.
They have a 4-day turnaround.
Well, it may be their meeting.
Yeah.
They have to be organized by the 15th. And so we'll say that we'll try to get them the name on the 11th or the 12th. And then if that person makes the organizational meeting, they do. Otherwise, they're just absent from the organizational meeting. And they might get some assignments if they don't.
All right, so we got Tipp Monroe Community Services. Do we have anybody who wants to do that?
I can't do Thursdays, sorry. Amber can't do Thursdays
And
either,
that's
she just
third
said.
Thursday is crazy for us.
All right, I'll do it.
Amber, you would probably like tea.
That's what I was looking at.
Tipp New Educational Endowment.
Yeah,
Anne, have you ever done it?
Amber, you're doing?
Your
yeah,
monthly meetings.
I'm good with that one, unless Anne.
Well, I do like the idea that you got 2 more years ahead, so it makes a good transition.
Yeah.
Fine.
Tipp City Park Advisory Board. Anybody?
Had any meetings last year? What is that? How involved is that?
It's not.
I don't,
No,
Like once a
nobody
year?
called a meeting.
Yeah, I didn't think they met more than once a year.
should we make it, would it be more relevant if it was something like Tipp Pride?
Well,
Don't we need some connection with them? more than
we're
the
handling that, I
parties
think,
do?
through the facilities, aren't we? To
Well,
private.
It could be facilities and possibly athletic council.
Oh.
If any of those reps wanted to be involved too, then that would give us several people that could rotate and be part of the process.
I think that's part of the problem is we don't have, no one's owning it.
Exactly.
Well, it's not really ours to own, it's more of a hearing from them.
Yeah,
Right,
being involved in the process, yeah.
trying to get information.
It'll end up with improving one of our facilities, so.
Yes, so it's important that we know. what's
Yeah.
going on.
So I mean, that's what I looked at it and I was even looking at it, but now we have potential for different people on committees, but I was looking at facilities has a piece of it. Athletic council could have a piece of it. It is in the park, so the park advisory board person could have a piece of it, but if that committee doesn't meet that often, the other two are pretty active. The
Yeah.
facilities committee is very active and the athletic thing is quarterly, so that's active too. So that would give us 4 people, that we could use to participate in those Tipp Pride meetings.
I'll do the park advisory board. And,
Do we need it? I mean, I'm just trying to ask a real.
well, we do have a park, so if they reach
Yeah.
out to me, I'll be there. Just tell me what
Just so
to
you
do,
can
right?
show up and find
Yeah.
out what's going on.
Right.
I think city council is supposed to be involved in that.
So you're doing it, Teresa?
Sure.
City Park.
Yeah, sure.
It's supposed to be the Monroe Township
Yeah.
trustees, the Board of Education,
Yeah, city
Tipp Monroe Community Services, and the council. And then Tipp City Public Library. I really don't think we need anybody here really on this as a committee, other than just, because we've got our policy now that the director of the library and our superintendent communicate on an annual basis, right, Mark?
Shortly.
Part of our policy, Simon, though, was that we would be included in the interviews. And when we did this last year, we said that people on that committee would be the 2 people that would or should or could be at those interviews. So in other words, when we get correspondence from their president, it's either the president, vice president, could be you or Rick,
The
or the committee
policy,
members.
the policy provides the Board of Education to designate people as part of that interview process if we so choose. We don't have to participate.
Yeah, it's not mandatory.
Yeah, and so to me, if we have interviews, we just open it up to the board and let them decide if they want to, if 2 people are willing or wanting to participate, they can. I don't see a real need for us to have a committee.
I don't either.
if you guys want to have one, you're more than welcome to chair it.
We have a lot of committees already.
So anybody feel pretty strong about having it, or are we good getting rid of it?
I'd say get rid of it.
Okay,
Doesn't matter to me.
all right, so then I think that, is there any other discussion on this other than the fact that we're gonna have to revisit the Miami Valley CTC?
Right, we can fill in that blank at the January board meeting after we have our work session and appoint somebody, hire
Correct.
somebody.
Any other discussion on that?
Nope,
All right, then I call for a vote to approve that, the committees as we just discussed.
I move we approve.
A second.
So I had a motion, Patry and Zakor
Yeah,
originally.
we did. We just had we had a discussion afterwards. Correct.
And before voting, I suggest that we go through the list very quickly and name the people so that we're clear on exactly.
Melanie, do you have those written down for us?
Yes.
Can you read them off, please?
Yes. Strategic plan, I have Simon Patry and Rick Maines. Facilities, ground safety, Simon Patry, Rick Maines. No legislative liaison at the moment. Board of Ed policies, Dan Zakor, Amber Drum. Student achievement liaison, Teresa Dunaway and Amber Drum. Personnel and contract negotiations, Simon Patry. Finance and audit, Richard Main, Simon Patry. Communications, Teresa Dunaway and Zakor. Business Advisory Council, Amber Drum. Athletic Council, Amber Drum and Teresa Dunaway. Miami Valley CTC, to be determined. I have at the moment, Tipp City Economic Development, Simon Patry. Tipp Monroe Community Services, Simon Patry. Tipp Canoe Educational Endowment, Amber Drum. Tipp City Park Advisory Board, Teresa Dunaway. And no one will be on the Tipp City Public Library Committee. Want to do away with that?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do away with that. It's just an ad hoc committee.
So I had the original motion, Patry and Zakor. Here, so Patry,
Yes,
Zakor,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
yes,
Maines.
Yes.
now we're ready for a treasurer's report.
So I'm looking for a motion of approval for a resolution declaring the intention to proceed under the alternative tax document format provided under section 5705.281 of the Ohio Revised Code.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
If I can just explain,
Yeah.
every year, the Miami County Auditor's Office allows us to file this document by January 20th. It discloses every fund for the estimate budget for July 22, 23. This will be our next upcoming fiscal year. This also includes the general fund and all funds for expenditures. And I looked into why it was the alternative tax document. And which surprisingly, the auditor said, we don't get that question very often. I thought, well, why does it say alternative? What's my choices? You know, they said, well, we could actually open up, you can open up a forum for public to talk about expenditures. And typically, school districts do not use that format. They use this alternative tax format. It will be on the next board meeting or the work session, excuse me, because this is required to be voted on by January 15th and to the county by the 20th. And so this, what we're voting on today is the format of that, and which is not having a public forum. And I I'm understanding that this is the most simplest and most commonly used process with school districts. So, and it's just a format that I have, the resolution is attached there. And this one is just for treasurer president, we're just approving the format, and I do have that also for signature for Simon later, but. So if there aren't any questions, or if there are, please let me know. And then, of course, on the next meeting, we will have the actual tax document to be voted on with the figures filled in.
Any other discussion? And so if there's not, I guess I have a question. You're not wanting us to approve this? This is just for discussion?
Yes, this is the actual alternative tax document format. So yes, we are approving the format,
Okay,
which is, it's the format of how we disclose our budget to the county. And this is the typical format where we discuss the format we're going to use, and it's a spreadsheet. And it's a form just asking for, basically it zones in on the revenues from the county. For the revenue budget. It's not asking for a detailed expenditure budget at this time, because we'll probably be tweaking that a time or two by July 1. But they know what our revenues are, which I fill in the document. And then I also, they do want us to disclose what we're looking at as our other funds outside of the general fund, but
But that,
typically an estimate, but a county requirement.
but that document you just described, that comes at the next meeting.
Correct, with the actual numbers in it.
Today, you're okaying the format to prepare that budget according to this alternative tax form.
yeah, this is,
Right.
this is a resolution that we're declaring the intention to proceed under the alternate tax document format.
Yes.
Correct.
So it is a resolution, we are passing it today, and I am, if we pass it, then it would be signed today.
And veteran board members, you've done this every year,
Yes.
so.
Any other discussion?
Patry,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes,
and Zakor.
Yes.
Motion passes. And Ms. Fox, you want to talk about 3B? Or introduce it?
We have another resolution that is also annual. And I'm looking for an approval. The resolution to advance taxes from the treasurer of Miami County to the Tipp City Board of Education.
So
That is the motion.
I'll move as stated in the resolution.
Second.
Any discussion?
is this something you do every year?
Yes, it is pretty much annual at this beginning of the year.
Okay.
And so we can get a tax advance in July and January. The actual tax dollars are available in February. So we're requesting just a little bit here early. That allow us to get the money in, and get it in the bank and maybe collect a little bit of interest, but typically then February and August is when the collections are available, but the advance allows us to request it just a hair earlier
Okay.
for the district. And this gives me permission to fill out the forms, send them to the auditor, and get that advance
Okay.
moving.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Patry,
Yes.
Zakor,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
yes,
and Maines.
Yes,
Motion passes. So on 3C.
And I kind of looked back to last year because I want to kind of make sure what we were discussing here. Basically, all boards and treasurer specifically will keep the minutes showing the time and place, the members present, what was considered, and the summary of what was, the items and the actions taken at the meeting. It appears last year, February 15th, 2021, we did update our minutes policy with COVID and so forth. We did add that the recordings of the meetings shall be made of each meeting of the board and shall be preserved as public documents of the board. And with that, we also have the written minutes. However, they're not as detailed had we not had a video. The video is not out there. The minutes would probably be 10 pages long or whatever. I mean, I hope I've been doing okay on the minutes. Heard a little bit of feedback, not a whole lot. I actually did get a call from a public person that questioned a portion of my citizens' comments, and I'm going to be addressing that just slightly, but we do only have to put a general description of the comments. And I apologize if I haven't put in enough comments. I'm going to at least make sure that that's clear for our citizens that come into our meetings. However, the minutes will, continue to be approved at the following meeting, the regular board meeting. Well, if there was a couple of meetings within, prior to the regular board meeting, they will be approved on that board agenda.
All right, thank you. We're up to new business, the consent agenda. Can I get a motion? I'll move to approve the consent agenda items. For a second. And there's no discussion on the consent agenda items. Everyone having had an opportunity to remove it from the consent agenda, and I'll call for a vote.
Patrick,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
and Zagor.
Yes.
That moves us along to new business 5A, 2022 law firms. Recommended actions to approve the school district the ability to retain the following law firms on an as-needed basis. Ricker and Eckler and Retzel Nanders. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, no discussion. I'll call for a vote.
I'm sorry, was that Ms. Zagor?
Mhm.
Okay,
And,
that was you that I was looking down, so
Zagor Dunaway?
yes. Zagor,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
and Patrick.
Yes. My board docs just froze on me.
Upcoming meetings is the next one.
Can I ask a question while his computer is trying to unfreeze? Did anybody get back to Mr. Wendell about what board member would be attending the library swearing? I said I couldn't go, so it would have to be Simon. If it couldn't be Simon, we would have to discuss it. Was there any follow-up on that email?
Nobody ever replied into me. We can open that up here.
Well, it was a group email, you, Simon, and I think Bill Wendell was on it.
All right, is anybody, when is that swearing in, Mark?
You're on the email, Simon.
I know I'm on the email. I don't have the date memorized.
I'll click real quick. You want to do the upcoming meetings? I can have the email pulled up by the time you're done with that.
All right.
11th and 24th.
So we have two upcoming meetings, January 11th. We have a work session at 5 p.m. here at the Board of Education office. We have our regular meeting here at the Board of Education office at 6 p.m. on January 24th. We're still discussing additional new businesses. Essentially. Depending on what we hear.
January 13th. No times, I don't know what time the library typically starts.
I think that if you go up in that email chain, I think it's like 6 or 6:30.
I
I
think
think it's 6 o'clock actually, or it's in the very beginning.
what I would recommend is that we add that to the January 11th work session, designated a board member to attend on the January 13th, and then we can email them and confirm that that's still the time and date.
Good.
All right, so having conducted all business on agenda today, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So Amber Drum is the first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Drum Zakor, any discussion? All right, call for the vote.
Drum,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Maines.
Yes.
Yes. And that concludes our meeting. Thank you all.
When's the latest report?
You got enough for calendar tonight?